Welcome to the High Impact Podcast, everybody. My goal is to connect my super cool friends in my circle with all of you. So that being said, today on the podcast, I have Jessica Brock. Jessica, welcome.
Welcome. Thank
Oh,
you.
yes.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here. Your story, I feel like, is going to be super impactful, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to. My podcast is called the High Impact Podcast. So obviously, I want to have people on that I think are going to make a difference with my circle and my audience, and so you came to mind. So we're going to go all over the place if that's okay with you.
Sure. Yeah,
Let's talk about, because we were just sitting here trying to figure out how long have we known each other.
Gosh, I would say probably at least 12 or so years, don't you think?
So this is 2021. Yes, you're right. You're exactly right. So 2008 is probably when we met.
Yeah, maybe a year or two before that, but it's been a while.
Maybe. We were both in property management, right?
Yeah.
At that time, we use that term all the time, but for those who don't know, that basically means we run tiny cities or apartment communities. So you did that for a while. Quite a while, right?
I did that for a while and then moved on to corporate marketing, which is a graphic design major. So that was more along the lines with what I went to school for, and then was in corporate marketing for about a dozen or so years, and then now branched out and started my own business.
Which is really why I wanted to have you here, because obviously I just want to make sure that everybody I just feel like there are tons of people out there who may want to take a step, but either they don't have the confidence or they don't have the know-how to, where to get started, what that looks like. So we're definitely going to touch on that, because you went from corporate America, aka paycheck, to working for yourself and being dependent on your efforts for income. So
Right.
I can't wait for that. But tell us a little bit about, so I met you and you were, I believe, living in Oak Ridge. So have you always been rooted around this area? Did you grow up here?
I did. Actually, my husband and I both grew up in Oak Ridge and are still heavily involved in the community. Our family still lives there. My daughter takes dance there.
Oh.
So we do live in Knoxville now, but we're born and raised East Tennesseans.
That is so cool. And I'm thinking back, I believe we had a mutual friend, a couple, so maybe that's how we met with Erin.
I think
Did
so.
we?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Maybe you went to high school with her.
I did.
And then I met her in college at Tennessee Tech, and then they moved back here. That's maybe
Yes,
how all that came to be.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Yeah.
So corporate America, tell me about the corporate marketing, because that can mean a lot of things. What all did you do in your corporate marketing job?
So I managed creative processes and just the brand consistency for those years. So just making sure that the way that the brand I worked for was perceived through either communication or through, so written communication, it could be visual communication, just making sure that we were consistent and that we were, perceived as how we wanted to be perceived.
That's cool. And you hear about those jobs, like I hear about those people that have those really cool jobs, but I don't even know if I've ever known anybody that actually was responsible for a brand. That's a lot, because you think about the different brands and you think about, okay, when I see this logo or when I hear about this brand, I automatically think of this. So was your brand, was your company a local company or was it a national company?
It was a local company, and that is something I think is probably a little bit more unique to Knoxville. There's not many large corporations that have just internal staff that manage those types of roles. A lot of times they're farming that out to ad agencies and creative agencies, but I was very fortunate that there was a company here in Knoxville that had an in-house team and allowed me to do something that was really, honestly, a lot of fun and something that was so aligned with kind of my passion.
And I bet, so your schooling, your education was graphics,
yes,
right? So I bet, I can only imagine what all you were able to kind of garner from that corporate marketing job and the branding job to now lead into what you're doing now. So tell me the story. I think your husband did it first. Tell me the story. Tell me how all that kind of worked out.
Yeah. So my husband has been in the insurance industry for about 16 years. He started off as a captive agent, and then in 2005 actually opened his own independent agency.
That's cool.
So we have had a goal, honestly, since then, maybe a little bit after the fact, but to have what I'm going to call a full service agency where we can offer life and health and annuity products, which is what my husband does, and then also offer auto and home insurance as well. So that really, from a client's perspective, we become kind of this one-stop shop.
Absolutely. So he did financial products,
yes,
mostly, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And now, so fast forward, when did you kind of jump in and say, I want to quit my job, which we'll talk about that in a second. But
sure.
So when did you kind of jump in and decide you wanted to do this with him and both be independent contractors, essentially?
Yeah, so I'll say it happened recently, actually 2020 of all years, which I know is crazy to think about now, but in the moment it really felt like the right time. We have 2 children. One is 10 and one is 7. And honestly, just from a mother's perspective, as they've gotten older, and they're, beginning to figure out kind of what their goals and aspirations and dreams are as far as schooling and extracurricular activities, it was just a time where my husband and I came together and, began to start thinking about and planning kind of for our future as a family. Yeah. And my son is a really big baseball player. He loves the sport and has goals to play in college and hopefully professionally one day. So, as we just started thinking about the future, you've been in the corporate world as well. There are certain things that can tie you down a little bit, for lack of a better term, as far as not having as flexible of a schedule. And, when I think about my kids pursuing their dreams, I want to be there right alongside them. And have the flexibility to do that and not have to ask for vacation time and, just all the red tape, I'll call it, that comes with holding a corporate job. So that, in addition to kind of having this goal of having a full service agency at some point, those two things combined, just given the ages that my kids are now, really kind of led us down this path.
So now, so he's doing the financial stuff, and then what are you bringing into what's the name of the business?
So the business is called Risk Insurance Solutions,
okay,
and that's a little acronym for the City of Knoxville, Retirement and Insurance Solutions of Knoxville.
Oh,
so
how
he's
cool.
the retirement side, like you mentioned, the financial side, and then I am actually a licensed auto and home insurance agent.
That is awesome.
Yes, so, and then I can provide commercial business insurance as well, so.
Okay, awesome. So, okay, so now you guys are evolving into this more of a full service company. Mm-hmm. So tell me, do you remember your last day in corporate America, or do you remember turning your notice in, how that felt? Was it scary? Do you remember any of that, like the transition?
Oh, absolutely scary. It's something that I would say having the stable salary of corporate America is definitely the key reason that it took us so long to kind of get to this point. It's tough to walk away from a stable salary to, working for your next paycheck, because we're in a strictly commission-based, business.
Absolutely. So don't you think that there are other women and men out there that maybe just really would love to do that, but do you hear that ever? Do your friends reach out and say, I'm so proud of you, I could never do that, but I'm so proud of you? Or do they, I hear that when people ask about real estate, they want to know, well, I'm so excited for you, looks like you're, enjoying it, I just couldn't do it. And I always wonder, why couldn't you? Mm-hmm. So I know there are people like us who are driven, so I understand there's a drive factor, but also do you ever hear from those people and just kind of think, but why couldn't you?
Right. Yeah, of course. And I do think there is a drive factor involved, but then you're almost, when you're put in that position, almost on overdrive, in a sense that you're a driven individual before, and that you could handle it, or you're willing to take the risk to do it. But then when you physically are sitting there and you have to do it, it's like, it's go time. So I think at that point, even for people who may feel a little bit less driven, I think when you're in that type of situation and that it's, kind of fight or flight at that point, you do it and you make it happen, and you do whatever it takes to make it happen.
I agree with you. I do think, though, there's a breed of folks that are willing to do it, and there's a breed of folks who either they may not be willing, or they just haven't found the right motivation. So, I just think, I do think it takes a very special person to be able to do what you did. And then for all you other folks, I'd really like to encourage you just to really
Absolutely.
analyze what's keeping you where you are, because I'd rather depend on myself every day than depend on somebody else, because
Right.
I know what I'm
Capable of.
yeah,
Of
and going to be able
course.
to do. So,
Yeah.
so tell me what it was like turning your notice in at work, and what did they say, and did they try to keep you? And
It actually, all the stars aligned really, and it ended up being a situation where, again, as I mentioned, I started this business in 2020. Things were changing, businesses were pivoting, certain positions were moving or being consolidated. And so it was kind of a synergy of everything. I had been looking to get out and start something fresh and on my own. The business was actually relocating my position to our home office in California. And so it was just a lot of puzzle pieces honestly coming together, something that I'm not sure if I wouldn't had that little push to really make the leap, because like you said, it is scary.
It is scary.
But then hindsight, being on kind of this side of it, I refuse to allow myself to fail, so I'm not, now being kind of over the hump, I'll call it, it's not as scary as maybe it was before. Yeah.
And would you ever go back?
No.
So obviously you want to do this so that you'll have time for your children and to do their things. And oh my gosh, I hated asking for time off, or I always felt like I was an inconvenience, even if I had a dentist appointment or something that I
Right.
needed to let my boss know about. It was so all that is awesome. But don't you also feel like you're helping inspire them?
Of course.
Because I do feel like there's a generation, maybe the baby boomers out there, maybe our parents, who grew up in a different time, and that entrepreneurial spirit wasn't part of what they
Right.
needed. A 9 to 5, they needed that money coming in, and they look at us like we have 3 heads because we've done this. But do you feel like really cool about maybe setting your children up to be able to dream a little bit bigger?
That's one of the things that drives me every day. My husband and I talk all the time about, I wish that, back when I was in school, you always heard about, going the college route, which is great. And I'm encouraging my children to do the same. But, you heard about kind of getting in this field or getting in this field. And there wasn't ever a lot of discussion about starting your own business and what that could provide your family. And so that's certainly a conversation that happens very frequently around the dinner table in our house. And yeah, I mean, I have both a son and a daughter, and I want both of them to know that as long as, they are willing to put in the work, then they can have whatever they want.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about what your day looks like. So I know for me, being self-employed it looks way different than when I went to my corporate America job. But I did keep a routine kind of for myself, because I'm a routine type gal. But what does your day look like on a day-to-day?
I would say it's kind of similar to the corporate world. I think I adopted the same kind of philosophy and just keeping my day structured and organized, making sure that I've allocated time not only to, be able to service my existing clients, but then focus on attracting new clients. So I try to kind of organize my day in that way, where I've got dedicated time, to do the administrative stuff, which is kind of a whole nother animal.
Just yes.
Yes. So do the administrative and then handle existing clients. And then obviously you got to get out there and hustle to find new ones.
So tell me how you're hustling. How are you finding new business? How are you convincing this person to switch from this auto insurance to your auto insurance? How does that actually, I would assume that's very competitive. How does that work?
It is definitely competitive. I would say one of the differentiators for us is that I'm an independent agent. So I'm not tied to one particular company. So I have a lot of flexibility for my clients, not only to meet their coverage needs, but also meet their budget needs. So that's definitely been kind of a key selling point for me is, let me take a look at your existing coverage. Let me shop it around to 20 or so of, the top national carriers, and then see if I can come back with a better plan for you.
So, for example, a State Farm or a Farm Bureau wouldn't be able to do that because that's their parent company, right?
That's right. And they're writing business through that one company, and they don't have the flexibility to maybe reach out to a Progressive or to a MetLife or to, an Encompass or Foremost or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you attracting those? How are you getting your phone to ring? Or are you literally going out and grabbing people and saying, hey, let me show you this, let me do this? Or is it a combination of both? What does it look like to acquire a new customer?
Sure. It's kind of a combination of both. I would say, when I wrote down kind of my business plan, first and foremost, I think, and you maybe did the same thing in your business, but it might be a little bit harder in real estate. But first and foremost, I tried to, identify my circle of influence. Who are my family and friends that, might be interested in me kind of, reviewing their existing coverage. And then from there, I would say my husband and I both kind of had this philosophy of owning our zip code, right? So identifying my local community and kind of working my way into that community as far as, getting to know people or, even from a marketing perspective, right?
Yeah.
And then, one of the wonderful benefits about him having been in the industry so long is, people are trusting him with some really sensitive, information
Yes.
and products. And so the cross-sell opportunity was another thing that really led us, or I guess encouraged us in this process, was he has a database of clients from the last 16 years that hopefully, if you're going to entrust him with your financials, then
That's a great
it's kind of a no-brainer, right, to trust with auto and home insurance as well.
That's really cool. So did your experience with the branding and all that, did that help? So when your husband, has it always been called Risk?
So he was actually Retirement and Insurance Solutions before, and then we rebranded to Risk whenever I joined the agency.
So is that a complete, like you did the logo design, you did everything?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that your corporate America, all the stuff that you did there for branding really came in handy.
1,000%. My husband and I were just talking this morning about, this email marketing strategy, which comes from some of the, marketing channels that I was managing in corporate America. So I have experience in email marketing, in design and branding, in social media, and obviously, as you know very well, all of those aspects are really, really important.
So if there's someone listening to this that maybe doesn't know, maybe they need one or two pieces of information, maybe they're self-employed and they'd really love to get their brand kind of out there or ramp up their business with regard to email marketing or social media, any of those pieces that you just mentioned, can you give a couple of maybe pointers to people? Like what would be a good way to kind of get that ramped up?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say number one is consistency. Okay. So if you're going to start a Facebook page or start an Instagram page or even, begin an email marketing campaign, I would say just be consistent. It doesn't have to be every day, doesn't have to be multiple times a day, but, set aside one day a week or one day every other week and make sure that you are dedicating the time to develop content for that particular channel. And that could be a podcast. That could be, video is obviously all the rage, and a lot of the social media channels are certainly rewarding you with exposure through video. So I would say those are certainly things I'm focused on in my own business, and hopefully some good pointers that I can provide to everyone else.
Yeah, I'm doing this series, 12 Things I've Learned After 12 Months in Real Estate. So yesterday's day was day 6, and it was video. It was all about video.
Yep.
So tell me how comfortable you've always been in front of the camera and how that's changed now that you own your own business.
Yeah, so certainly, I think we might have talked about this before, but definitely not comfortable in front of the camera. But again, it just goes back to one of those things, like you're so motivated because this is your business and your name is on it and your reputation is, tied to it. And I just kind of had to get over that fear a little bit and just jump in head first and be okay with being on the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
And just doing what it takes. And when you're really, really passionate about something, that makes it a lot easier.
I agree. One of the things I mentioned in my video yesterday was I hear all the time people are just, I'm not, I don't like the way I look on camera. And my words were, get over yourself, because your customers need to know, like, and trust you. And it's really hard for them to do that if you're not on video, in my opinion, these days.
Right.
So I really feel like video is kind of the way like you said, you get rewarded on social media for video. Speaking of social media, do you have any advice for people who think they need to be everywhere? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, what's your advice for folks who just feel like they need to be on all the platforms?
So my number one piece of advice would be know who your target customers are and meet them where they're at, because they may not be on TikTok and they may not be on Instagram, you know. So definitely identify who you're targeting, figure out, at least to the best of your knowledge, what platforms they might be engaged with, and meet them there. Sure.
That's great advice. I love Snapchat, but my clients aren't on Snapchat. So for me, Snapchat may be 5 minutes a day just for guilty pleasure, but then the bulk of the time that I'm going to have blocked is going to be for channels where they are. That is great. Right. Great advice. Talk to me. You were talking about time blocking. Do you paper plan? Do you digitally plan? I know you blog, but do you write it down or actually account for the time, or is it just something that you keep in your mind?
I do both. Okay. So I will block time off digitally, in my calendar, and then all of my to-do lists are always paper-based. So I do make note of, certain calendar dates and appointments and things on paper as well, but most of that is really done digitally. And then, always have to have a to-do list.
I know. I paper plan. I love the paper. I love it, but I still have to do things digitally. I wish I could be all digital, but I just love. There's something about paper and pen.
I agree. I don't know that I could. I do try to be very conscious and go digital as much as possible, but there's a certain, just for me, certain things about flipping through or having easy access via paper.
I agree.
But it works well.
I just figured it was my age, but that's okay.
It could be my age too.
Well, I'm much older than you, but that's okay. So tell us what is coming up. Anything exciting? I know we're still in our pandemic. I get all that, but are you guys doing any events? Is there anything exciting on the horizon for your business?
I think so. I think as things settle down a little bit and maybe more, businesses and social gatherings start to come back more to what I'll call normal, which I know it'll be a new normal, but absolutely. I think there will be some great ways that my husband and I can partner together and better serve clients. And we really didn't get the opportunity again because of the time that we introduced the auto and home side to the business. We didn't really get like a celebration or, not a grand opening or a reopening. Yeah. Right. Or ribbon cutting.
Maybe that's what
I'm hoping to do that here in the future as well, especially now that weather's nicer and I think we could host something outside.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about you personally. What are you into? What do you like? Anything about you?
Sure. Let's see. Well, I'm a mom first. Obviously, I love spending time with my kids. I love following them follow their dreams. My daughter's a dancer, which is very near and dear to my heart. It's something I grew up doing. And like I said, my son plays baseball and basketball and all the boy things. So we spend a lot of time together as a family. At this point in the stage of parenting, I guess we've kind of have to divide and conquer a lot, but we spend a lot of time. We own a boat. We love the lakes here in East Tennessee, so we spend a lot of time on the boat.
Do you have a favorite lake?
In the summer? I think there's different aspects of different lakes that we really enjoy. We spend a lot of time on Loudon. We spend a lot of time on Watts Bar. And, there's definitely unique things about each one of them that we really enjoy.
That is. Have you always been into boating? Or is that?
So I grew up, my dad's a big fisherman.
Okay, cool.
We grew up, we had family members who had lake property growing up. So I'm always a water baby.
Wow.
From day one, lakes, pools, you name it.
So you were just anxiously awaiting. You probably, have you already been out this season?
We have not yet.
Kind of waiting on the.
We have not yet. I have thought about a little, dinner cruise or something maybe one
just
night.
Let me know when.
Yes.
I'll just set aside time.
Absolutely.
It's so fun.
Yes.
I wasn't into water growing up. I never had access to a boat or any. I rode a jet ski for the first time. I think I was 41.
Wow.
And it was Watts Bar, and I have never. You could hear me laughing for miles. I had the best time ever.
Yes.
So I just came into, that's why I asked you, I just came into the water thing recently.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And I'm always fascinated by people who are different than me. So like I didn't grow up around water or boats or, fishing, any of that. So I think that is so, so cool. And you're right. We have so many really cool spots around here.
We do. We are so fortunate. Obviously the mountains in our backyard, but then even the lakes that we're surrounded by as well.
everywhere.
They are everywhere, they are gorgeous.
Well, tell everybody how, because we want to be able to help you grow your business. So tell everybody what you can help them with and where to find you exactly. One more time.
Yeah, absolutely. So the business is called Risk Insurance Solutions, and I am a licensed agent that can provide auto insurance, home insurance, boat insurance,
Yes.
RV, and then commercial business as well.
Okay.
And you can find us on Facebook at Risk Insurance Solutions. Our website is riskinsurancesolutions.com. And I would certainly encourage everyone that's listening at this point, especially given kind of what we've gone through the last year, I would say, putting my business hat on from an insurance perspective, a lot of building materials have gone up over the last year, which I'm sure you're very aware of.
Yes.
So I would encourage people to, I think now's the time really to review your existing policies and take a look at what your coverage limits might be because of the things like that, like building materials, your home may be worth a lot more to rebuild if something were to happen at this point. So it's definitely a great time to just review what you've got out there, similar to thinking about refinancing and things of those nature. Definitely review your existing coverage, your policy limits, and, the replacement value of your home might be a lot more than you think it is.
Never thought about that. So kind of just like an audit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
I love it when people make big moves and just take action. So I applaud you for it. It's hard. I know it's hard.
It is, yeah.
It's so rewarding, though.
Right.
It is so rewarding. So congratulations on everything that you've got going on.
Thank you.
And really congratulations and kudos for doing it during a time when a lot of people just shut down. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy for
Thank
you.
you.
I'll help in any way I can. Thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And guys, if you need anything from Jessica, we will link her information below. Just remember, this podcast is to connect my awesome friends with you guys and my community. So keep subscribing, keep checking back for podcasts, and we'll have more cool people like Jessica on every week. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.